Hello again, and welcome to CAREOSITY Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Watkins. Well, today's episode, I wanted to talk about uh, how to identify the best in-home care options for you. So here you are as a family caregiver, and you have decided that you need help with in-home care for your loved one. Um, so the first step would be to determine what you need help with. Does your loved one need help with dressing or bathing or toileting or uh, mobility assistance? You have to determine uh, what the needs are. So assess your loved one's needs, and by probably, I would guess that you already know what those needs are. But I would also reassess what you think your loved one's needs are, because needs change frequently with the elderly. Um, one day they might be able to put on their socks, and the next day they can probably hardly do it. So needs will change, and that's one thing to keep in mind too. Is uh, in the home care industry, we call that decline, and that's one thing my company monitors a lot is decline in independent living for our clients. Um, you know, we that's how we monitor by charting uh, each visit that we have with our clients. We chart um, how they're doing with activities of daily living. Um, are they independent, or are they now extensive assistance? So it's very important to assess your loved one's needs. And step two is to figure out how often you're going to need help. Um, some people just want some help during the day, maybe 3 or 4 days a week. Maybe some need extensive 24/7 care. But it's important to assess how often you're going to need a in-home care service or an in-home caregiver. Step number three kind of ties into that, is to assess your budget. It is very important that you know where you are financially when considering in-home care. Some in-home care companies are work differently with insurance. Some accept insurance, some are privately owned and are not set up to accept insurance. My company is unique in that my caregiver partners are self-employed. And one benefit of that is that uh, some in-home long-term care insurance will reimburse the clients for in-home care, um, as long as the caregivers have certain credentials. But So there's insurance that does that, and there's also, since the caregiver partners of my company are self-employed, uh, they can be paid directly from insurance. So there's several options there. Many private in-home care companies are very different when this is concerning this. Um, but you want to consult with insurance. You want to see if you can be reimbursed for private care pay, um, and how you can reduce the cost. Um, and then step number four is you want to determine your loved one's comfort level. Um, so after you've determined, the needs, it's important to acknowledge your loved one's comfort level. What are they okay with meeting a brand new person who's going to be caring for them in their own home? Are they Would they prefer a family caregiver? Um, would they prefer male or female? It's very important to assess your loved one's comfort level. And step number five is to start evaluating specific companies or independent caregivers. So once you've determined what you need and what you can afford, you should look at the right company and or provider. Um, how, some things to look at are, how does a company assess your needs, and how are you matched with a caregiver? Um, I know with Carosity, um, we we go in and we ask questions, and then we also perform our own care plan to assess needs. And we show up with our caregiver partners to client homes to be there and to watch interaction with the client to make sure that they will be a good fit. How does the company vet their caregivers? My company guarantees each and every caregiver is completely 100% background checked. And they are interviewed to make sure that they have experience and they know what's going on as far as private in home care. Uh, Another thing to consider is the caregiver an employee of a company or of a family that engages the caregiver? So consider the source. Um, you know, is this just a referral from a friend of your family's? Um, or is this caregiver employed in some way, shape, or form by an agency? And it's very important uh, to note that caregiver background checks are very important. You know, you have someone coming into your home that you may or may not know. It's important to know for your own safety and peace of mind um, the kind of life that this person has led. So it's important to note um, the source of the caregiver. Uh, and let's see, another other things to consider are if the caregiver creates a care plan and how is progress against the care plan monitored. I did just say that my company initially does a care plan, full spectrum care plan, ranging from personal needs to home environment, lifestyle, diet and nutrition. We go into very detailed information in the initial care plan. And that from that care plan, we input information. We use that information to create what we call charting in our app that we use for documenting daily care every time we have a visit with a client. And I monitor the charting for declines. And as I said in the beginning of this episode, it's very important to note declines because as your loved one declines, care is going to need to be changed. Care is going to need to be upgraded. So you want to be sure that you're ready for a level of care change. And that is what my company provides using care plan and charting tools. Another thing to consider is, how does the caregiver plan to keep you informed of your loved one's care? So, I mentioned before that my company has an app, and we very frequently use that app. I use it for oversight of care for all of Carosity clients. The caregiver partners use it to document the care that they provide. And in this app, we are able to uh, com- collect information and give information to family members, but we can also do something significant. We can send an invite to a family member or family members to the care team profile for their loved one. And they can be as informed as they want to be if they are on the care team profile for their loved one. They can look in, they can see all the daily charting, they can see all the daily notes, they can see if mom ate all of her dinner, they can see if if dad was able to put his pants on, by himself. They can see all of that. So we have different forms of communication at Curiosity where it's not only verbal, but it's also electronic. Um, I communicate with clients through email, text messages, phone calls, in-person visits, and also through our app. So those are some things to consider when you're coming to the place in life where you think you might need in-home care for your loved one. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Be well.